Merry Christmas. Let's sing together a few carols before we get started with a service proper. We're going to start with Deck the Hall 235 in your gray hymnal, or direct your attention to the screen. Deck the hall with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la. See the blazing Yule before us, fa la 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus, fa la 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 la. Follow me in merry measure, fa la 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 la. While I tell of Yuletide treasure, fa la 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 la. Fast away the old year passes, fa la 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 la. Hail the new ye lads and lasses, fa la 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 la. Sing we joyous all together, fa la 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 la. Heedless of the wind and weather, fa la 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 la. Heedless of the wind and weather indeed. Let's sing the first Noel, number 237, if you have a hymnal, or the words will be on the screen for you.
Was to certain poor shepherds in fields
Let's rise in body and our spirit to sing together. Joy to the World, number 245. Please be seated.
Welcome once again on this Christmas Eve as we await the rebirth of hope, as we look for a star in the heavens, as we find once again a shimmering light within that will remind us that joy is possible, forgiveness is possible, love is possible, peace is possible. This is the time for an element of wishful thinking, a time to realize that we are creatures in the making somewhere this side of perfection, a time to cling to that hope that we can move beyond the failures of our past and emerge from the ashes kinder, gentler, a little more understanding, a little more content, a little more compassionate. A time to realize that we can carry the beauty, the joy, the mystery of this season with us into a new year. The world always seems so beautiful, so holy on this cold winter night. We look into each other's faces and wish one another peace, joy, and goodwill. We can carry those wishes with us throughout this season and throughout the coming year.
The Christmas story tells us to believe in the impossible, in the inconceivable. It tells us to open our minds and hearts to greater possibilities than we ever could have imagined. It tells us that a simple baby, born in poverty in a simple stable surrounded by animals, can carry within him the light and love of the divine. It tells us that this is true of each and every one of us. The Christmas story and the Christmas season cause us to examine our lives and decide how we choose to live them. Do we choose the possibility of peace, kindness, generosity, and love? Or do we bow our heads in resignation, knowing that the hate and greed are inevitable in our world? Do we choose to live without hope, or decide that our lives are full of hope and possibility, and that the risk of love is a risk worth taking each and every day?
Because no one is ever really ready for Christmas. If we were really all prepared, if every gift we had contemplated had been obtained, if every present was beautifully beribboned, if all the goodies our friends deserve were baked and cooled and stored just so, if each and every person we love was gathered for our celebration, if we never snapped at someone we care about nor stopped short of being all that we could be, if our minds were 100% loving and our hearts were 100% generous, they truly would be ready. And truly, we would not need Christmas quite so much.
So may we welcome in Christmas, most needed of seasons. May it come with the reminder that love does not depend on perfection, but on willingness to risk connection. May it enter into the unready manger of our hearts, that we may feel the warmth of new life and give flesh to the promise of hope that cries to bring healing into our world.
So welcome Christmas, welcome love, welcome hope. May all these be born in our unready hearts on this silent and holy night. And we invite you now to rise in all the ways we do, joining together in our words of chalice lighting. In the winter season of the year, dark and chilly, let us come into Christmas here. Let this light and warmth brighten our lives and our world. Let us find in the dark corners of our souls the light of hope, a vision of the extraordinary in the ordinary. Let us find rest in the quiet of a holy moment to find promise and renewal. Let us find the child in each of us, the new hope, the new light born in us. Then will Christmas come.
Let's sing together our opening hymn, number 226. People, look east. People, look east, the time is near of the crowning of the year. Make your house fair as you are able, trim the hearth, set the table. People, look east and sing today. Love, the guest is on the way. Fools, be glad the earth is bare. One more seed is planted there. Give up your strength, the seed to nourish, that in course the flower may flourish. People, look east and sing today. Love, the rose is on the way. Stars keep the watch when night is dim. One more light the bowl shall bring, shining beyond the frosty weather, bright as sun and moon together. People, look east and sing today. Love, the star is on the way.
In the early days of the Christian religion, there were a collection of monks who went out into the desert of Egypt to live lives of simplicity and prayer in pursuit of the God of their understanding. Most of their fasting and meditation and study was done apart, separately. But some still lived together, offering support and counsel to one another. And so, the story goes that one day a monk named Abbot Lot visited another named Abbot Joseph and asked him, "Father, according as I am able, I keep my little rule and my little fast, my prayer, meditation, and contemplative silence. And according as I am able, I strive to cleanse my heart of thoughts. Now, what more should I do?" The elder rose up in reply and stretched out his hands to heaven, and his fingers became like 10 lamps of flame. He said, "Why not be totally changed into fire?" Each year, the official season of Christmas, the shopping season, is about as far from a monastic experience as you can get. And each year, it seems to grow a bit longer. So that tonight we come together with Christmas nearly accomplished. Whatever presents there will be have been made or bought. The carols have already been in our ears and on our minds for a month at least. The tree, if we have one, is trimmed. The family is gathered, or it is not going to be. The goose or the ham, the tofurkey, or the general sows will shortly be eaten. To celebrate the holiday, what more should we do? And the answer comes: why not be totally changed into fire? Why not be suffused with the joy of light in the darkness? Why not be filled with the hope of singing in the night? Why not share in the radiant company of friends and strangers? Why not be transformed this season and this hour so that the light that is in every one of us might shine forth for all the world to see? So that the infinitely generous, impossibly compassionate, irrepressibly hopeful spirit of Christmas might endure beyond the duration of the trees and the sails and the songs on the radio. We come together on this night each year to be reminded that all people, those who have much and those who have little, those who are exalted and those who are ignored, those whom we love and those whom we have not yet learned to love. All people are children of the same human family, and all children are holy. We come together that our hearts might be changed from cold stone into blazing fire. If you didn't know before you walked in, I think by now you know that tonight is Christmas Eve. What you may or may not know is that it is also the seventh night of Hanukkah. That's why there is a lit Hanukkah on the altar here. Hanukkah is the special version of menorah that is used for the festival. This is one of the years where these two holidays intersect, as they do with some frequency. Some of us know the story of Hanukkah, some of us don't. I encourage you to consult your local library if you don't. There's a lot of good books about it. The story I want to tell you tonight is a Hanukkah story, but it's not the Hanukkah story, you understand. This Hanukkah story takes place in the town of Chelm, maybe 300 or so years ago, somewhere in Eastern Europe. Chelm is not a real place. Well, there actually is a real town called Chelm, but it's not the real town called Chelm. It's the imaginary town called Chelm. It's a setting for many folk tales from the Ashkenazi Jewish tradition, in which everyone in the town of Chelm, from the very oldest to the very youngest person, everyone who lives there is a fool. You need to understand this from the outset. No one there ever gets anything right. That's the whole point of the town of Chelm. And so this story takes place during Hanukkah. If you don't know, the festival falls every year roughly around when the new moon comes closest to the winter solstice. So the time when the nights are the longest and there's the least light in the sky. And so two people, the baker of Chelm and the butcher of Chelm, were having a dispute about which of the lights in the sky is the most important. The baker said it was the sun, because the sun is what gives us the light that we use to do almost all of the work that we do all through the day. And the butcher said that it was the moon, because the moon is so powerful that it controls the tides of the ocean. And they couldn't agree. So they went to see the wisest fool in Chelm, the rabbi. There's only one rabbi in Chelm. So they went to see the rabbi, and they put the question to him, which of the two lights in the sky is the most important? And he thought about it. He said, well, the answer is obvious. The sun's light is much appreciated. Certainly it is brighter than the moon. But the sun only shines during the day, and we don't really need light during the day. It's already bright. The moon, on the other hand, shines at night when it's so much darker, so it must be more important than the sun. Well, the butcher appreciated this, but the baker was not satisfied. So there was a further argument, and they decided that they would need a whole panel of rabbis to decide the question beyond dispute. But I already told you there's only one rabbi in Chelm, so that's not going to solve the problem. Now, the baker kept pushing this issue with the rabbi. You know, he would go after him at coffee hour. He would write him emails. Well, not actually, but you get the idea. And he followed him all the way on a trip that the rabbi was taking to a whole other town. He got on the train with him. He was talking to him on the train. He went on the errand that the rabbi was there to do along with him. He followed him to his hotel. He spent the night in the same room at the same hotel. Not a good model of boundaries, you understand. But the baker had to get up real early in the morning to bake bread. So he had to leave town before the rabbi did. And wanting to be respectful of the rabbi's sleep, he rose before dawn and got dressed just by the light of the moon, trying to be very quiet so he wouldn't wake the rabbi up. And he left the room and he went to the train station, and he was about to board the train when he saw himself reflected in a window. And he noticed that he was wearing the rabbi's overcoat. And he thought to himself, that innkeeper, I told him to wake me up, and look, he woke the rabbi up instead. But after this event, the baker was having so much trouble about whether he was who he thought he was or whether he was somebody else. He was constantly debating with himself, am I the baker, am I the rabbi, am I some third person? And so he resolved, okay, well, I wear the baker's clothes, I wear the baker's hat. I must be the baker. And this was a pretty good solution. Except, if you may know, in a traditional Jewish community, you need to go to a ritual bath once a week in order to prepare for Shabbat. And there's a nice public bathhouse. It's like a spa. It's really quite lovely, and people enjoy the baths communally there. But that meant that there was this time every week where the baker wasn't wearing the baker's hat, wasn't wearing the baker's clothes, just sitting in the bath wondering who he was. And that was a very unpleasant experience for the baker. So he decided he would take a red piece of string and tie it around his ankle. And then he thought to himself, all right, the baker wears a red string around his ankle. That's how you know who the baker is. And so whenever he was concerned, he would just look down at his ankle and think, oh, okay, I'm the baker, all right. But no knot lasts forever. So eventually that string worked its way off of his foot one day while he was in the bath. And he stood up, and he was going to put his clothes on, and he thought, who am I? Now, at the same time that week, the rabbi was also there going to the baths, and he happened to notice in the water this very nice piece of red string. It was long, and had a nice weave, had a nice bright red color. He thought, well, I should save this for something or other. And of course, he didn't have any pockets for very understandable reasons at the time. So he tied it around his ankle for safekeeping. And as he was leaving the baths, he saw the baker sitting there worried. And the baker saw him and looked down at his ankle and said, well, if you're the baker, I must be the rabbi. The rabbi said, I don't think you've got it right. And they went back and forth, and eventually the rabbi was just like, okay, here, take the string. And he left. So here was the baker again, with the string, still confused about who he was. And so he resolved that the next morning, he would just be whoever the first person told him he was. That's how lost he felt about who he was. So he got up in the morning, he was walking through the town square, and here comes the butcher. It's near the end of Hanukkah, you remember. I set that up at the beginning. And the butcher says to the baker, Baker, I am so pleased to see you. I'm hoping you will make some extra cookies today because I want to get some cookies to take home to my children and celebrate Hanukkah with them. And the baker fell to his knees in gratitude to the butcher because the butcher had just told him he was the baker, and now he felt confident about who he was again. And he said, you know, I've been thinking about that argument we were having about the sun and the moon. And the moon, well, the sun, you see, the sun shines very brightly, but that's just the sun being the sun. It's not really working at it, but it seems like so much harder work to have to reflect all that light back to the earth like the moon does. So you're right, the moon is the more important light. Thank you so much. And you know what? Here, why don't you have this piece of string? The butcher was pretty confused by this whole turn of events, but he thanked the baker for the string, and he thought on his way to his own workplace, you know, the moon may be an important light, but the sun, when it comes up in the sky, it tells everybody to wake up, and it tells them to start their day, and then everybody starts working. So that must be more important than the moon. So in this way, the butcher changed his mind about which light was the most important as well. At the end of the day, after he'd finished his work and he'd gone to see the baker again and gotten those cookies that he promised his children, he went home, he gave them the cookies, and the kids were making candles in order to light the Hanukkah. And they said, Dad, you have some string. And he said, well, yeah, I have this piece of red string. And so they took it out and they cut it up into pieces and they made candles by dipping it into wax. And that night, they celebrated the holiday by the light of those candles. And it didn't matter whether the sun or the moon was the most important light in the sky, because the most important light is always the light that we share with the people we love.
Let's rise in body and our spirit to sing together hymn number 246, O Little Town of Bethlehem.
What can we say about Rudolph? He was excluded by the other reindeer. They did not let him play with them. We may feel confident that they made fun of him and his red nose. It is possible that this hurt poor Rudolph. He was on the outside. The other reindeer had a special relationship with Santa. They were the elite. Dancer, Dasher, Prancer, Comet, Blitzen, fine names, sturdy names, bespeaking solidarity, stability, education, training, ability, access to the very best. These reindeer were strong and they were fast. Rudolph was smaller, and his only distinctive feature was a shiny red nose. It seemed to have a glow about it. It made young Rudolph a figure of fun. Still, he may have been content to be red-nosed all by himself. He probably muttered more than once, "I don't care, let them have all the fun. I can have fun by myself." Did Rudolph wish to be included? We don't know. Probably he did, for it is the deepest wish of all creatures to belong and to be accepted. So what happened on that foggy Christmas Eve? Santa realized Rudolph could make the difference in guiding the sleigh. Rudolph could lead them through. Rudolph's special trait was that strange, shiny red nose. It was this nose, this gift that was needed. So Santa goes to little Rudolph and asks him to guide the sleigh, actually to lead it. He would be in front of the other reindeer because their mission of getting Christmas to the children of the world was so important, it was necessary to rethink past practice. When Rudolph was asked, what did he say? Well, we don't know. That part's not recorded. But we know that he didn't say, "Can't, too little." He didn't say, "Me, the one the others make fun of." He didn't say, "Now you ask me. Too bad, I've got something else to do." He didn't say spitefully, "Get somebody else, let Dancer do it." And he didn't say, "Guess what? I hope y'all crash, you and all the others." So we have a classic story of the insiders excluding the newcomer and making fun of something about him. It happens all the time in schoolrooms and playing fields and classes and society. We say they just don't have it, and if they do, well, we got here first and we don't have to let them in. Rudolph just did it. He led the sleigh through. He did the job. It was hard, but he did it. Then all the reindeer loved him. So what is this little story? What does it all mean? What's the moral? Well, here's some possible ones. Anybody can serve. We all need to be a part of the team. All of us, even the smallest, have a contribution to make. Perhaps be kind to each other. Try to see each other's gifts. Maybe it's make sure everyone belongs. Perhaps there are others. Maybe you can think of some yourself, and maybe you will think of them each time you hear his song.
Let's remain seated and sing hymn number 244, "It Came Upon the Midnight Clear." It came upon the midnight clear, that glorious song of old, from angels bending near the
Christmas is a strange season. When you're a child, it is a season of presents. When you're young, it's a season of parties. When you get your own home, it's a season of preparations. But when you get older, Christmas changes color drastically. Suddenly, out from behind the advertisements and the big dinners, through the haze of old carols and soft candles, we begin to see what Christmas is really all about. Christmas is about finding life where we did not expect to find life. Every year of life waxes and wanes. Every stage of life comes and goes. Every facet of life is born and then dies. Every good moment is doomed to become only a memory. Every perfect period of living slips through our fingers and disappears. Every hope dims and every possibility turns eventually to dry clay until Christmas comes again. Then we are called at the deepest, most subconscious, least cognizant level to begin to live again. Christmas brings us all back to the crib of life to start over, aware of what has gone before, conscious that nothing can last, but full of hope that this time, finally, we can learn what it takes to live well, grow to full stature of soul and spirit, get it right. There is a child in each of us waiting to be born again. It is to those looking for life that the figure of the Christ, the child, beckons. Christmas is for those who refuse to give up and grow old, for those to whom life comes newly each and every day, for those who can let yesterday go so that life can be full of new possibility, for those who are agitated with newness, whatever their age. Life is for the living, for those in whom Christmas is a feast without finish, a celebration of the constancy of change, a call to begin once more the journey to human joy and holy meaning.
I invite you now into a time of giving and receiving, where we give freely and generously in support of the ideals we cherish. Our gifts from this and all of our holiday services provide a great deal of the funding that runs Justain's eviction prevention program. Sometimes the difference between a family being out on the street or staying in their home can be just a little bit of help. With your help, Justain and Joining Forces for Families are helping people to prevent eviction and homelessness. There are many ways to contribute this evening. There are baskets now being passed here in which you may place cash or checks. You'll also see on the screen that you can donate directly from our website, fusmadison.org, and find the text to give information there as well. We thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life we create together.
We stand with eyes toward the east, awaiting the rising of a star, and pray that love shall become flesh and dwell among us, that compassion shall be born in human hearts.
Let us be still in the darkness of our sacred space and listen to the quiet around us. For even in the quiet, there is the gentle being with others.
Let us feel the warmth of our community, knowing we are not alone, for in the quiet shadow is the glow of life within all.
Let us know in the darkness the gift each candle bears, a small flame, a diminutive light, yet the wondrous gift to kindle another's glow.
Let us be in awe at this moment, as we each take up the flame and light envelops this room, as hope for peace and goodwill fill this night.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child. Holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, holy night, shepherds pray, guide the sight, glories stream from heaven afar, heavenly hosts sing hallelujah. Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, holy night, child of God, love's pure light, radiant beams from thy holy face, with the dawn of redeeming grace. Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace.
Tonight, in this community, we have shared stories, sung carols, opened our hearts to the beauty of music. Tonight, we have turned to one another, lighting each other's candles in the dark. Tonight, we have dared to hear a message of hope spoken once again against the challenge of the world. It is time now to extinguish your candles and depart, to go forward to our lives and to the world.
May you carry this light with you in your heart as you go. May joy be your companion, whether you are with others or alone. May love be your strength, and may the gift of community dwell in your heart. On this night of deep darkness and indestructible hope, we wish you peace, goodness, and joy on this night and always. Good night, Merry Christmas, peace, and goodwill to us all.
It was very high today, yes.